can I read an email to you that I received just as a way of warming up and my reply? Because this really, really activated my almonds. I went absolutely to town on this. I'm going to have to find it. Excuse me. There it is. All right. So I received an email from the Visual Rights Group saying to whom it may concern at Topher Field and claiming that I had infringed copyright. Now, I'm going to bring up the post that they're claiming I infringed copyright on so that everyone can see it, so that you all know what we're talking about here. Let me just go across to StreamYard and share my screen because this activated my almonds. Instant like kill, death, destruction mode.
You want to go break some legs? I'll break some legs.
This was a post that I made where I took a graphic that had been made by the Herald Sun. You got the Herald Sun branding on it. Couple forced to barricade themselves inside bedroom after armed thugs stormed home. Now, what I do is political commentary, right? I add commentary and perspective to things. Now, let me just update the screen here. Has that come through correctly? Yes, it has. You will see that my comment on this post is Victoria is the California of Australia, complete with the 1970s era gang wars and street killings of LA. How much worse does it have to get before Victorians demand better? Okay, so that's my commentary. That's my commentary on that particular post. That's what I do, right? I've got there's 3 different images in there from 3 different news stories that I have grabbed and put together and basically made the point we're going down the same spiral that Los Angeles went down in the 1970s and 1980s or 1960s and 70s when they descended into full-on gang warfare on their streets. Right. So basically they say to me in this email, you owe us money right now, pay up or else we're going to chase you with legal, like we're going to chase you for payment and we're going to sue you. We're going to get the lawyers involved.
Who's the company that did this?
So this is a mob called Visual Rights Group. They're not even in Australia, but this is a company that does act on behalf of a lot of different copyright holders all over the world, artists whose images are being used without someone paying for the rights to use it or these various things. And what they say is you have to pay us because you've already used it. And when you pay us, it doesn't buy you the right to continue using it. So you need to take it down and you need to pay us for having infringed our copyright. The problem that they've got is that news, commentary, satire, and a couple of other things are all exemptions under Australian law. Copyright law does not apply for news and for criticism and for commentary on the news. So here is my reply, just to give all of our beloved Oddies a taste of how don't fuck with me I am today, and you, Carly, are as well. I'm going to read you my reply in full, verbatim. Yes, I actually sent this. To whom it may concern. For the reasons spelled out below, I insist you place me on a do not disturb list internally so that you no longer send any further dishonest, spurious, and borderline extortionate correspondence to me in future. 1. As you are no doubt aware, given you claim to be professionals in the Australian intellectual property space, Australian law provides a fair dealings exception for, among other things, news, criticism, parody, and satire. 2. My page is a news commentary and sometimes satirical one, and is well established as such over more than a decade of work. I critique politics, law, and media coverage. As such, your client and all of your clients' work falls within my scope of news, criticism, parody, and satire, and the posts in question in your correspondence fall clearly within this category. 3. The image referenced in your correspondence in this case is used as part of my ongoing commentary on the crime wave in Victoria and the media coverage of it. In my commentary, I variously highlight the failings of the current Victorian bail laws, the need for castle law, the loaded language of the media coverage of the crime wave, and various other public interest arguments that fall within the scope of news and commentary and therefore allow me to use your client's material along with anything else I please, sans copyright considerations. 4. The posts referenced are relevant to my work specifically due to the language used by your client's editorial staff as well as the wider issue of crime and self-defense in our current political and legal landscape. 5. As such, the publication of your client's work was essential to my criticism of it. Further, I left your client's branding in place and unobscured so the source of the material being criticized can be clearly seen by my audience. 6. Finally, your client has suffered no financial loss due to my use of the image and as such has no standing to sue. Me posting the image has in no way impacted the reach of the image when posted by your client. The algorithms simply don't work that way. In fact, I could argue that I've provided free advertising for your client and their brand by drawing their work to the attention of people who would not otherwise have seen it. For all of the above reasons, I will not be entertaining your spurious claims of copyright infringement and your attempts to extort money from me, despite you being well aware of my exemption under Australian copyright law. Since threats of legal action are your modus operandi, allow me to reciprocate. I will defend my work against all legal threats with extreme prejudice and total disregard for costs. And in the case of baseless, spurious, and borderline standover man threats like yours, I will ensure the case is slow, expensive, public, and both you and your client will desperately wish you had not threatened me by the time it is over. I am best left alone. I look forward to never hearing from you and your fellow parasites again.
That was insane.
And yes, I sent that. I literally sent that email. I just read it out word for word. That is exactly what I said to them. I am done. I am so over this bullshit.
That sounds like a Spicy Girls email. That's very impressive. Well done.
I lost my nut. I tell you what, that actually made me feel so much better, and I'm glad that I vented on them, because I didn't vent later on in the day on other people that I might have otherwise vented on. So it was a good little catharsis for me.
So hang on, is this mainstream media's little last dying attempt to try and salvage their readership by going after people who post screenshots of their content? Is that what it is?
So what this is a company that basically has become kind of the debt collectors of the internet world, where they represent anyone who will engage them to go and chase copyright payments for the use of someone's image. Now, I understand that there are copyright infringements going on. I personally don't believe that copyright law should exist, and I say that as someone who is a content creator whose work gets ripped off all the time. But I understand that a lot of people have a very different view on that, and they think that it should exist, and it certainly does exist. So fair enough, a company that goes and follows up on behalf of copyright owners, that's a legitimate business under the current climate. But I want to make a point which will be the basis of a court case should it ever come to that, which it won't. Them sending out blanket blasé extortion threats without doing proper due diligence to actually check whether someone, for example, has an exemption under Australian law is a lot like the Robodebt scandal, where the Australian Tax Office were just blasé sending out demands to people and then doing the research later, right? Yeah. This does actually amount to extortion, in my view, and there's a lot of people who are less experienced than me. Like, I've dealt with this shit before. I'm not that intimidated. You can use a little bit of legalese on me, and I really don't care. There's a comment here. It's almost like phishing. It almost is. It's legalized phishing. It's legalized standover tactics. Because, and there are people less experienced than me that get intimidated by it.
Yeah, and they'll pay.
Yeah.
And that's the whole purpose of it. It's a deterrent. They're not expecting, to get everyone. It's just to see, they're just trying to rattle you, basically.
Yeah. So hopefully that reply does its job, and I never, ever have to hear from their sorry asses ever again.
Isn't it interesting? Like, you're not the first person I've heard say that. There's quite a bit of this going around, not just around sharing screenshots, just more so old institutions trying to claw back their readership and their circulation. And I think this is a part of people realizing they no longer have the power now. Like, I did a 1-hour interview with the Herald Sun about a week ago, and don't worry, I recorded everything. So if they misquote me, I'm not in the mood to be messed with. I was pretty hesitant to give the interview, and I said, look, I'll give you an interview, but just so you know, I'm also recording. And, it ended up being a good chat, but I don't think the article's come out yet, or if it comes out, who knows. But she said, I noticed that you share a lot of the screenshots from inside the app, like in your videos. And I said to her, I'm like, yeah, I do. And she goes, you're obviously a member. And I said, yeah, I pay my $30 a month to the Herald Sun. And she's like, it's good to see that, you read the content and whatever. And she sort of said, those screenshots go pretty viral. I'm like, isn't that a wonderful thing for your company though? Because the screenshot's nothing. The actual article's always behind a paywall. If someone wants to read your article, they can. But remember, newspapers used to be $1. So all of a sudden, you've got to now pay for these online subscriptions. You've got to pay behind paywalls and whatnot. But you used to be able to go into a cafe and read that Herald Sun, admittedly covered in, someone's breakfast, but you could read it for free. You could go to the newsagents and read a page for free until they told you off. Like, you could go to the Coles the night after, and they'll rip the cover off the newspaper, and then they're thrown out in the bin. So I don't know what they're worried about. It's not like the digital world's the first time that people have been reading the news for free.
All right, whoa. You mean to tell me you've watched all the way to this point, an entire segment of the Oddcast, and you're still not subscribed? Seriously, what is wrong with you? Just subscribe, like, share, tell everybody. You had fun, right? Tell everybody else. Let them have some fun too. And listen, buy me some coffee, please. I'm desperate. I'm starting to get the shakes. Like, just there's a coffee. That one. Scan that coffee, please, now. Thanks.